This week we will be covering Chapter 2, Income Sources. We are going to take a look at some of the math that you use for calculating your salaries. One of the things that you will have to learn how to do is calculate your total pay when you work overtime. Your total pay, usually for a regular rate, is your normal hourly rate for 40 hours. It's just multiplied times 1. It is what you are actually making. If you're making $10 an hour, then you're making $10 an hour for your regular rate. If it is overtime, it is 1.5 or time and a half. You do 1.5 times the number of hours that you work above 40 hours per week. For example, Marcel makes $10 an hour. Marcel works 45 hours this week. How much money does Marcel make this week? You take 1 times 10 times the 40 hours, and that's $400. For overtime, it would be 1.5 times 10 times 5, and that's $75. You would add the 400 and the 75 to get $475 for this week for Marcel. Sometimes you will get commission for different jobs, such as selling cell phones at a cell phone company. Anywhere that you have sales, cars, those kinds of things will have commission. Total pay is your salary plus your commission. Commission equals the percent times the total sales. For example, Clovis makes $500 per month for her salary. She makes 20% commission on all sales. Clovis sells $2,000 in merchandise this much. How much money does Clovis make this month? Her salary is $500. Her commission is 0.2 because you changed the 20% into a decimal, 0.2 times $2,000. That gives her $400 in commission. Her total pay would be adding those two numbers together. $500 salary plus her $400 commission gives her $900. You may work somewhere where you get tips. Maybe you are a waiter or a waitress. Here's an example of a problem where you figure out how much money you make with your tips. Alice Jones works 32 hours this week. She is paid $4 per hour. She also earned $250 in tips. What is Alice's gross pay for this week? You take her pay and multiply it times the hours worked, and then you add in the tips. $4 times 32 hours is $128. 128 plus the $250 in tips gives you $378. Alice's gross pay is $378. Sometimes you want to know what your net pay is. You have to know how to take out the deductions for the income taxes and for the health benefits. So this is a look at a calculation of pay with deductions. Rochelle worked 46 hours last week. Her hourly rate is $7.90. She has the following deductions taken from her gross earnings. What was her net pay? The first deduction is her federal income tax, withheld at a rate of 10%. Then her Social Security tax was withheld at a rate of 6.2%. Next, Medicare tax was withheld at a rate of 1.45%. And her health insurance premiums were $11.20. All of that was taken out of her paycheck. Before we can begin, we have to take a look at her regular pay. How much was her regular pay? Take her 40 hours and multiply it by $7.90. This will give you $316. Then find her overtime pay rate. That is $7.90 times the time and a half, 1.5, and that will give you $11.85. That's how much per hour. Multiply that by the number of overtime hours, which was 6 hours, and you get $71.10. Now add the overtime and the regular together to get her gross pay. $316 plus $71.10 equals $387.10. Then you calculate the pay with the deductions by finding all of the things that came out of her paycheck. So we need to look at, okay, we know that 10% came out of her income tax. What amount is that? If you take it, turn the percentage into a decimal, 0.10 times $387.10, that gives you $38.71 that was deducted for the federal income tax. The Social Security tax, 6.2% of $387.10. Take the decimal, move it over to the left 2 spots, 0.062% times $387.10 gives you $24 that was taken out of her paycheck for Social Security tax. Then you find her Medicare tax, 1.45% of $387.10. 0.0145 multiplied by $387.10 gives you $5.61. Then you know already that $11.20 was removed for her health insurance premium. Now you want to subtract all of those from her gross pay. Her gross pay was $387.10. Then we're going to take away the income tax, and we'll take away the Social Security and the Medicare and her health deductions. After all of those numbers are subtracted, we are left with her pay of $307.58. That is her net pay. Be prepared for class tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll use our textbooks to complete these kinds of problems. We will do page 36, Activity 2, Section 2-1, and page 58, Activity 2, Math Minute. Bring your book to class. We will finish our group stations from Monday. Make sure you bring your group station notes from Monday to class tomorrow. Have a great day.